So welcome everyone. I am Melissa Skiffin. I host a lot of our webinars here at Achieva, Arc of Greater Pittsburgh. It's truly become one of my absolute favorite things to do. So we want you all to feel comfortable, relaxed. This is a safe space. We want you to feel comfortable sharing information or about yourself, but also, as Mary said, if you with personal information, because it's being recorded, wait till the recording is turned off, or you could message us privately for specific situations. But feel free to grab a snack, your cup of coffee. I have mine. Hazelnut is the flavor of choice this evening. Whatever you need to do, your camera being off, your camera being on, whatever you are comfortable with, we just want you to be comfortable in this space. So just want to introduce us real quick, and then I'll turn it over to Mary for more important information for Governor Shapiro's proposed budget. But welcome to Advocacy and Family Supports. We are the Arc of Greater Pittsburgh, the Arc Erie, and we are members of the Achieva family of organizations. Here's just an overarching umbrella of all the organizations under the Achieva umbrella. The new ones in the past few years, when I started here, we were not affiliated with Autism Connection or the Arc of Erie County. So we have grown even in just the few years that I have been here. This is our geographic reach. So the Arc of Greater Pittsburgh supports Beaver, Allegheny, and Westmoreland County, and then Arc Erie is up in Erie County. This is our mission and vision. It's something that I truly believe in, something that I was passionate about long before I even started working at Achieva. Recently, our mission changed slightly. It used to say Achieva advocated for, and now it says Achieva advocates with. And I just think that is so important. I always try to point it out when I'm hosting these webinars so that people get to know that we want to work with people. It's a collaboration. It takes all hands on deck. So we are glad that you were all here to be a part of that mission with us. And then our core values: respect, passion, ethics, change, and team. And real quick, this is our QR code to connect with Achieva Advocacy if you have any specific advocacy need, whether it's about this webinar tonight, the topic for this webinar tonight, educational advocacy, systemic advocacy, anything that we can do to work with you. That is how you get in contact with us. So I'm just going to go to my next slide, which is the poll. Now let's see if technology agrees with me and the thing pops up. It's very simple, I promise. It's not too invasive. It's just, if you identify as a self-advocate, a loved one of a person with a disability, or a community partner. If you want to drop into the chat a little bit more information about yourself, you're welcome to do that. Your name, county, more about your situation. For example, I am the parent of a 13-year-old with an intellectual disability and autism. I also obviously work at Achieva, but so I kind of wear two hats, if not more sometimes. But if you want to share more about yourself and what county you live in, you're welcome to drop that into the chat. We just want to make sure that we are including as many people as possible to connect on this very important issue. So far, it looks like most people are coming in as a loved one of a person with a disability. And I can totally relate to that. Like I said, my son has a disability. So I will also share that many of the advocacy team members also have a loved one with a disability. We are both professional and family members. So I think that makes a difference. So, but we're also happy to have our community partners here too, because like I said, we all have to work together to get this done. All right, so I will leave the poll live. If any, now we're at 7 to 4. Okay, loved one of a person with a disability still holding 4. So it looks like the majority of people so far are a loved one with a disability. So I will go ahead, and that will stay live if you decide you want to enter, if you haven't already, but you're also welcome to drop into the chat anything at any time. We would be happy to hear from you. But I, at this time, am going to introduce Mary Hartley, who is the president of the Arc of Greater Pittsburgh. So the floor is yours, Mary.
Thank you so much. It's so great to be here. And Melissa, thank you for all you do. I worked with Melissa last year on something when I wasn't at the ARC. And I was so excited by her energy and what she brings to all of these sessions. It's really great to be here and working with such tremendous individuals in the advocacy department. I am also a parent. I live in Allegheny County. My son Jack is 24 and on the autism spectrum and does have waiver. And we have struggled mightily during this time because he graduated in spring of 2020, right? The pandemic upon us, and no providers of services. It's a very, very, very challenging time for us. So I'm happy to be here tonight, and thank you. Thank you all for joining us, because this year it really is not the same. And I mean that because for no other reason, it is critical that we have funding to support individuals with intellectual disabilities and autism in the waiver system, which we know as the Office of Developmental Programs in Pennsylvania. And every year we have to create a budget and we try to get more funding, right? But since 2017, there hasn't been another raise. There's only been one raise in that system. And that's really dramatic, because I think many of you will attest to later, we're not paying people who do the work, what we call direct support professionals, enough. But this is an exciting year because the governor has proposed this excellent budget that we really want to make sure is still intact by the time that the legislature works their magic on these budget numbers. And for all intents and purposes, I think the governor and many of our legislature agree that this is an important issue. So I just want to share that what this has already done is it's already added 1,250 community living waivers and 400 consolidated waivers. In the next year, it would add an additional 1,250 community living and 250 consolidated. So that's dramatic. And we haven't had an increase like that in a very, very long time. A lot of advocates before me did a lot of work to get us here, and including my colleague Nancy Murray, who just recently retired. And it's very exciting. This is a moment, and we're hearing people say things like, maybe we could actually end the waiting list. And for those of you who know what the waiting list is, and you can look up the waiting list in Pennsylvania and do a deep dive on any county. We're happy to share that in the link in the chat as we move through the presentation today. But there are over 13,000 people waiting for services of some kind, either initial services or additional services. And in addition to that, in each of these counties that we serve, Allegheny, Beaver, Erie, and Butler, we show these numbers here. Allegheny, almost 1,100 people. Beaver, a little over 150. Erie, almost 900 people. Westmoreland, just over 430. So it's a lot of people waiting for services, and very, very important. And more than that, many of these people there's a percentage of these people in each county who have an emergency. They needed it yesterday, and they probably should be getting it within a month to 2 months. And then we have people who are in more of a planning stage, and maybe it'll be a couple years before they need it. But we're talking about, when we talk an emergency, we're talking a parent is deceased, parents are very ill or elderly. There's not somebody there in the family to support, and we really need to make sure those dollars are there. This is critical. And Melissa, feel free to jump in as we go through the slides if there's anything else. And I tried to put in these, I'm trying to get out of acronyms. So wherever we had weird acronyms, I just wanted to make sure you understood what those were. And we're happy to explain more later.
Yeah, one thing I was going to share too, and thank you for that, Mary, because I was
Yeah.
like, I already told Mary I'm an interrupter, and I didn't want to be an interrupter. But the impact, I mean, every county is a little bit different, but I live in Westmoreland County, and historically in Westmoreland County, for someone to get a consolidated waiver specifically, someone else ultimately had to pass away. That was pretty much the severity of the situation. And contributed to why people were in an emergency status waiting for a consolidated waiver for years and years and years. But this really does change a lot of things for more people than I've ever seen it change at one time. So it really is a very impactful year for sure.
Okay, next slide. So this also does this other great thing that I sort of mentioned early on, and it boosts rates for direct support professionals or DSPs. Look, I didn't put it in the little, I didn't do an explanation of what that was. Beginning July 1, if that budget passes on time. So that would be really tremendous. $217 million in state funds. And with the total, we get a little bit more than a match from the federal government. So this account comes up to about, $500 million, which is a huge influx of resources to support individuals. Next slide. Okay. And Melissa, did you want to add anything else before we move on to this part?
No, I definitely think that people have been advocating for direct support professional wage increases for a long, long time. I know many of families that I know, people, self-advocates that I know, my family included, definitely have felt personally the weight of not having a direct support professional or direct support professionals. I also know many direct support professionals who work tirelessly to support the people with disabilities that they are asked to support. It's more than just a job to them. They truly care about their work. They care about the people that they work with. And unfortunately, we've lost a lot of good direct support professionals over the years because the wages just weren't enough to sustain a family, truthfully. And I'm hoping that not only will this help get the direct support professionals paid a fair wage that are already working as direct support professionals, but I'm hoping that it will encourage people to return to that work or explore that work because it really is invaluable work for people with disabilities and those that love them. So
And it really is true, and this is quite sad, that direct support professionals oftentimes can get a better job, a job, the same job, the same rates working at Sheets. I mean, this is really important work, and we need to pay people their worth. And so this is an exciting opportunity, and there are a lot of changes coming in the ODP system, which we hope to have further dialogue about as we go through the year. But somebody even asked a question about that, talking about preferred providers in the chat. There's a whole systems change that's happening. You're going to hear my son in the background jumping. There's a whole systems change happening right now in ODP. And there's a question here. Does anyone know if those funds will be strictly for preferred providers? My understanding is that all providers will get a 3% boost, and then there will be increases for certain types of providers who are providing different types of services. And as I said, we can go into more detail with that just as soon as we can share all of those details. I'm happy to do that later maybe in a couple months, as soon as we know more. Okay, so here we are at sort of the moment of the night, and this is just a first part of what you could do if you're willing. For those of you who've never used a QR code, we're going to also put this link in the chat. I think I can pull it.
it is in the chat. Did
Oh,
you
it
want
is
me
in the
to
chat already?
let
Great.
me to share? I can stop sharing this slide and
No,
go to that
no,
website.
let's keep the slide up. And
Okay.
for those of you who can, if you've never done this before, to look at a QR code on your phone, if you'd like to try it, it really just goes right to the link. That's all it does. And you put your camera in front of the QR code, that sort of fuzzy green and black box. And then you click on Achieva and you can open this. And the first box you'll see looks like the state capitol. And it says proposed PA budget increase. And if you click on that, you can go, and we're going to give you some time to do this. You can do that or click on this link in the chat that Melissa's put in. I could also give you words. If anybody wants just words, shout out. We're happy to give you words you can Google. But if you go to that, you can compose a message to your state senator or your state representative, and the subject's already there. And what'll happen is once you put all of your information in, including your zip code, it'll go right to your legislators. It'll go to your House member, your senator. So that makes it super easy for you. I think, a lot of times you see these and they're all pre-composed, like they wrote a little message for you. We think there should be money in the IDA system because blah, 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 right? What we want to write is your story. Even if it's not very long, the subject says, please support the budget increase. My family member, my family member has not been able to get an individual direct support professional since they got on the waiver. That's what's happened as a result, because we can't find someone who will do the work. It's been really, really challenging. And so that would be part of my message and maybe a couple more lines. So we're just going to be quiet for a minute and let you compose your message and send it off. If you've never done anything like this, you will get a response. Tina, if you're here, we are composing messages to our legislators using this QR code and the link. And once you compose your message, and you put in your zip code, it'll go right to your legislator. And so we wanted to give we have dead air, which we never want to do usually, but we wanted to give people some time to think about what they want to say personally, and that it's not a canned message.
Sorry.
And if you look a little bit earlier on in the messaging, there are some things that we have said there. If you wanted some talking points and you need those, feel free, you can copy and paste them. I think it's just important for you to, if you can share something personal, it's always best.
If a couple of days go by and you're like, oh, I wish I would have said this, or I wish I would have shared that, this will still be open. This isn't just open for now. So you can go back and share something else, or if I know a lot of DSPs might want to share something about their experience as a DSP, but maybe they want to advocate for a person they support. It's okay to do both. You know what I mean? So this won't be going away anytime soon. So you'll have the opportunity, or if you want to share it with other people, someone who wasn't able to be here tonight, or someone that you thought might benefit from this, please share the link with them. We would love to hear everybody's story. So
yeah, it's really important. And I say this because, we meet with all of the different legislators at Achieva, at the Arc of Greater Pittsburgh and Arc of Erie. And we do bring families to those meetings, and that's really important too. But I think it's really important to hear from individual stories and from your personal experience, and not with sort of the typical language that would be prescribed to you. So in the future, I think we'll have like a short little piece of information, if you wanted to fill it in. But I think it's also nice to have that opportunity. It is so important to talk to people about what's going on. If you have issues or questions, we can always work with you in crafting a conversation with a legislator, but you can always find your legislator, and we'll send out these slides and this video, and you can connect with them directly in their offices or call their office, show up at their office, front door, even just to talk to the receptionist, not, in a very polite way, just to, say, this is my issue, this is what we're seeing. Oftentimes my son Jack and I will go together, and I find that is way more impactful for Jack to say what's going on and what he's advocating for, which is super important, but also for people to have an experience of, this is what we're talking about, and Jack needs something to do during the day. He can't be with his mom all day, he's so I think that the potential is there for more of us to do this in the future. And we will be doing more connecting with all of you, and hopefully even in our offices in our different counties and also virtually, so that we can talk about certain issues that are affecting families from birth all the way through the lifespan. So, but some of the things you want to do is sort of just share why you're there. And you always want to make the ask, please support the budget intact, or please make sure that there's funding for our kids. We have an explosion, a literal explosion of people with autism coming down the pike, and we've all seen the CDC numbers. The need is there. This is a great need, and so we can definitely use your support. And your experience is the best experience. I mean, your personal story is what is the most effective. And as Melissa wrote here, if your family member can't come with you, take a picture. I was recently with Tina Calabra, who came on a little bit late in Washington, D.C., and she had a fabulous picture of her son in her sessions, and it was incredibly impactful. And I think that people really loved seeing his beautiful hair and learning more about Mark. So I think the potential is there to do more of this. And if you would follow up after you meet with them and say, did the senator get my message? Squeaky wheel gets the grease. There's just nothing like families showing up at sessions, but also allies and direct support professionals. I mean, that's really important for you to tell your story, because we want you to be in the field and doing the work, and it's important that you get paid appropriately.